movie recap, named Halloween Kills. It's a horror movie from 2021. This is a sequel to the film series that came out in 1978 and 2018. In the beginning, we are seeing that a police officer was wounded by the killer, Myer, also known as an apex predator or boogeyman. In 1978, he had his first conflict with him, when he could not defend his friend and shot him by mistake. Tommy is one of the survivors, who escaped the attack from Michael. Tonight is the special Halloween night. Tommy is telling the story of murders back in the day. In this scene, we can see how everyone is frightened and scared, and they respect him. After that, he introduces us to the other survivors. Lindsey, her babysitter, was executed. Marion survived an assault. And Lonnie, who was lucky to survive. Myer is also unkillable. They tried to burn him, shoot him, and stabbed him with a knife, but he is still who he is. That night, when he was supposed to die in the flame, firefighters helped the situation a lot. Suddenly, the floor collapsed and the firefighter fell through the hole. He isn't happy about that, and Michael couldn't help himself. A friend of his is going to help by giving his hand, and Michael approves. Not long after, he went outside and killed all the firefighters, without mercy. The next victims were a couple, who took playing with the drone in the house. Michael doesn't like that. It's interesting that every victim is curious about how their meeting with Michael will end. But it's always the same end, because they didn't invite him to dinner. Meanwhile, Cameron calls his father on the phone to tell him that bad things are happening again. On this very night, cops found out about the murder, and were in shock because many were dead. Then it all started airing on TV, where we found out there were a few more murders, and 2 patients escaped from the local hospital. The doctor and the nurse decided to go home after the bad news, but it wasn't exactly the best idea, because someone hid in their car. They thought he was Michael, but he was just a patient who had recently escaped from the hospital. Big John and Little John are a couple, living in the house where Michael lived before. They are getting ready for this special night. There was a daughter, Karen, and a granddaughter, Allison, in the hospital with Lori when they found out that Michael is alive. He survived their assassination attempt. Her boyfriend Cameron is here. They plan to team up to eliminate the big player, Michael. It looks like they aren't playing around, as Tommy gathers as many people as he can. There are children outside in the dark alone playing. Lindsey tried to warn them to go home. And then, they saw that their friend was killed. They all tried to run, but Michael manages to slaughter the whole squad, who came after him. As we can see, Michael never speaks with the victim, asking them about their life, or if they need some help. We can conclude that he is not very communicative. Fortunately, Lindsey survived. By hiding well, they took her to a hospital full of unfortunate events. Karen said to Tommy, Michael would come to the hospital, so they prepared and chased the wrong person because they thought it was him. Karen helped him to hide, but eventually, the patient committed suicide. Big John and Little John wander around the house, because someone broke in, but only Michael has returned home, and Big John is no longer available. Little John shared the same fate. Cameron went to Michael's house with his father and girlfriend to put an end to it. Dad went first with a weapon. They heard the shot and went after him, but it was already late. He is done. Cameron tried to fight him, but he was too weak and failed to fight in the end. Allison is screaming. She was almost done. Then her mother appears, takes him down, and took off his mask. Not long after he got up, chasing Karen. They caught him in a trap and beat him with everything they had, but in the end, he got up again, like he was sleeping, and killed them all. Karen later visited his house and ended up the same as the others. What we have noticed, as in other films, is that it is impossible to kill him. But they don't give up on that idea. In the end, David Gordon Green directed a disturbing thrill ride for fans to enjoy.
Let's spend some time wasting it away. Your love is like music. You went and changed the game.